I'm Lauren with Pack Hacker, and in this video we're taking a detailed look at the TOM BIHN Synik 26, which I've been testing for the last 3 weeks. Let's dive in. In true TOM BIHN fashion, this comes in a bunch of different colors, a bunch of different material combinations, so definitely go check that out on their website. It changes a fair amount, but this version that we have here is the Sun Glow X Pack and the Sangria 210 Ceylon material on the inside. So I'm gonna bring it up a little bit closer to the camera. I've gotten some blemishes on the X Pack already. You can see them down there, and then there's one in like the dead center. I haven't been able to get those off. I don't know where they came from. So definitely if you want something that's gonna not gonna mark up, I would look for something that has like a little bit of a darker look to it. This one is obviously very bright and sunny, and I don't mind it, just definitely a vibe. So something to keep in mind. Also with the X Pack, it's a little bit crunchy. So has that like X Pack classic noise to it, but you can also get this in like in a ballistic material, and they have like Halcyon liner combinations as well. So a couple different options on there, so definitely check that out. But all of the design is, if you're familiar with the rest of the Synik bags, you're going to recognize this style. So they have the little TOM BIHN logo down at the bottom here, and then pockets kind of all around, which we'll go over like what's in the pockets. But I would say that like really the storage on this thing is a majority of the aesthetic. Obviously there's not much going on beyond like the fact that there are 5 pockets on the outside and then the main compartment as well. We do have the stitched on logo down in the corner here, which is nice and subtle compared to the rest of the bag. Honestly, it just blends in, I think. We also have a top carry handle here. It's nice and skinny in the middle, so that's nice for if you want to hang it off of like a hook or something like that. But it is comfortable to grab as well. There's no like significant padding. There's a little bit there, but it honestly feels like more of just like the material folded over than anything. Like it's a little bit of maybe something extra in there, but overall still pretty comfortable to hold. And then on the bottom here, we have a spot for if you want to do like a bike light, or you can use it as like an extra grabbing point if you need a little help like pulling it in and out of the bin or something like that. We also have a luggage pass-through on the back panel here, which we'll talk about in a second, but this goes all the way down at the bottom and then at the top, and then you can fit, they say like a maximum width of a 7-inch luggage handle. And then on the inside here, there's also the frame sheet, which is just like a little bit of plastic that's nice and flexible. Adds a little structure to the bag, and you can remove it if you want to, but I never really found myself wanting to. The harness system is super simple. On the bottom here, we have a removable hip belt. So this is just like a regular clip and nylon webbing strap design. There's no like padding or anything here. There's also no like strap keeper or anything. So you just kind of clip this on. It helps keep the bag in place and also like lifts the weight off a little bit. I'll show you what it looks like on, but if you want to remove it, you just remove this with like the gatekeeper clip. I don't love gatekeeper clips. I kind of struggle with them, so I'm not going to struggle with it on camera. But if you want to just remove these, that's pretty easy to do. I took it off and then just like left it in the bag so that I had it if I needed it, but you could just leave this at home if you don't want it. We also have a sternum strap. These are also technically removable. You just kind of like feed it through and pop them off. But I like that they're in a sliding rail so that you can get those micro adjustments. This was another thing where I didn't use it all of the time, but I keep these on just because they're nice to have them when I do want to use them. And this worked perfectly fine for me. But what I like about this back panel is the harness, like the actual strap system. So these straps are, I'm gonna roll them a bunch of times so you can see how flexible it is. Like you can really get a lot of movement with these. It's like this is like a really soft mesh material, and they're a really squishy foam. And I felt like that was more than enough for a bag of this size, a 26 liter. But in general, I just found it to be more comfortable on my frame. We also have that flexible back panel, like even with that frame sheet, it still has a decent amount of like movement with your body. And then we have some mesh up here to help with breathability, and some structure down at the bottom. So overall, very comfortable to wear. This is the bag when it's on. Like I said, it's a pretty comfortable fit. I have a 16-inch torso, and it does hit me kind of like at my lower back, I guess you could say, like maybe like down at my like lumbar, like a little further than that. But it doesn't feel like it's really weighing on me or anything, or feel too stiff and uncomfortable. So definitely with me, like I think that this is the biggest size that I could go with this bag and still have it be pretty comfortable. They do have a 30 liter, and that for me is just like a little bit too big. So that's something to keep in mind. And then with the actual fit itself, like I mentioned, the straps being like a little bit more foamy and flexible, those are very comfortable on my shoulders. And I just feel like, you know, it's not like overwhelming me or anything, or like cutting into my neck, which I really like. The only thing is with the hip belt here and then the sternum strap not having strap keepers, kind of flap around a bunch, but the side straps do have strap keepers, which is nice. Now we're going to talk about all of those compartments on the outside, but we are going to start with the laptop compartment specifically. So this one is on the side. You can see there's side access here. Very simple zipper pull, YKK zipper, reverse coil design. And this, I have a 13-inch MacBook Pro in here. I'm going to leave it in here for the sake of the video because there is a second place to access this from the inside. But I primarily use this because it was the most convenient for me. I just kind of tip the bag, like you kind of got to tip it, the laptop on its side, and then slide it in. This can fit, it's designed for like 14 or 15-inch laptops. It can fit up to a 16-inch MacBook Pro, but it just barely fits. So something to keep in mind if you have a larger device. That's pretty straightforward there. With the rest of the bag here, this is kind of where it gets interesting. So we have this bottom pocket, I'll start with that. This can fit like a fair amount, honestly. I would say like the biggest kind of deceiving thing with this is that it looks like this front pocket would only be this big, but it actually goes all the way down to the sides over here. So you can kind of like use the stitching as a marker for how big those pockets are actually going to be. It kind of gives you like an idea. But with this, like this is a Patagonia packable rain jacket that I fit in there. And this is like fairly large for a packable jacket. And it still does fit inside. Like this pocket's definitely too small for like a pair of shoes. But we used it for, like we used the previous version, or the larger version, we used like a tech pouch. We put a tech pouch in here or something like that. I stowed the hip belt in here because it was out of the way. I didn't find myself using this pocket a ton in day-to-day use just because it is a little bit on the larger side. But in here, on a weekend trip, I brought up my Kindle, and so I put that down here. So this kind of falls within that like tech pouch zone, especially because with this doesn't bend, and when I put it in the top pockets, it was a little bit harder to kind of like flex the rest of my gear over everything else. It just got a little bit too stiff. So that was a good spot for that. And it doesn't cut into the main compartment space either. All of these pockets have independent leaderage. So when you get into the main compartment, you know, all of that space inside is going to be its own. It's not going to all like chop into each other, which is nice so that you can store a larger item like this and not have it get in the way. The other pockets, these two are symmetrical, so they're actually also fairly large. Again, kind of use that stitching as a marker. But on this side here, I have just like a disposable camera and then my phone in this one. And then there are like, it's technically like a pen slot here and then two skinnier pockets. I never found myself using these. They were just a little bit too skinny for anything I needed, but they also are not in the way. So I think it's nice to have the option, especially if you're using this as a daily driver and you need to carry around pens, like that's kind of nice. But if not in the way, like I said, this one here, this pocket, you can see goes in. It is kind of cutting into water bottle space, so I'll show you that in a second. But we also have O-rings kind of spread throughout the bag, so you can really like get customized. Tom Bin has like a ton of little tiny pouches that hook and accessories that hook on to those O-rings, so you can get a little bit more customizable with your organization if you want. Then on this side here, same pocket design, except instead of being these little tiny pockets, it's just one bigger one. So this is a good spot for if you wanted to like put your headphones in there. You could definitely do that. This side also has a key leash on that O-ring. You can move this around if you wanted to move it to the other side, you totally could. But this is a good spot for like if you have like a hat or gloves or accessories like that you're gonna get to more often, and you know, maybe this bottom pocket's full, those are a good spot for that. Then we also have these top ones. So this front compartment, you can see, is really, really shallow, and that's because this is really the only one where it's sharing space with another pocket, and it's sharing space with the water bottle pocket. So they put the water bottle pocket in the dead center of the bag in this front compartment. This is a 32-ounce water bottle. This is much larger than I would carry in this bag. I carried something smaller. I don't think I have a smaller one here for like as an example, but like a hydro flask, like a 22 ounce or something like that, is gonna be more than enough water for me on a daily basis. Like I'll fill it up a couple times, but that fits well in here, and then it does save you space in the rest of the compartment or the rest of the compartments, because if you look in the side pocket, now you can see how much extra space you have. Like that really opens up some room for you, versus when the bottom pocket's full, it starts to like cut, like that's where my finger is, like it's cutting in there. But if you look at this from compartment, now you can see there's way more space in there as well. So it's easier for me to grab, like if I didn't have the water bottle pocket full, or if I had it full with, let's say, something like my Kindle, then I felt like I had more space in this front compartment. I didn't have to like move things around. But I think what's nice about this bag is there's probably 3 trillion combinations of gear that you can put in these external pockets, and everything will still fit. The biggest thing is just whether or not your water bottle will fit. So as an example, I have an Awala water bottle. This one is about as tall as a Yeti. And when I put it in here, I can't zip up this compartment. So that's the biggest thing to keep in mind, is if you, like a huge benefit for you is the water bottle pocket, especially because it's centered on the bag, it's gonna like even out your center of gravity. Double check that the water bottle you have actually fits in here, because it might be a little bit difficult to get that inside, and if it can't fit, then the water bottle pocket's kind of useless for that function. If you're finding this video helpful, hit subscribe so we can keep making content to help you travel smarter. Luckily, the inside of this bag, the main compartment, is much simpler than the outside of it, so we'll get into that now. But the biggest thing that I want to bring up with the main compartment is the zippers. So on the front here, we have number 8 YKK zippers, and they move very nice and smooth. These zipper pulls are actually an add-on, so Tom BIHN sends them with you, but you have to put them on, sends it with the bag, but you have to put them on yourself. Otherwise, it's just the metal pulls. They jingle a lot. Like, it's a pretty loud bag. You can definitely hear me coming. These zipper pulls helped a little bit, but not a ton. So that's something to keep in mind. But like with the zipper pulls or the zippers I mentioned, these ones move very smoothly. The number 10 zipper that's on this main compartment is just really, really hard to move. It's definitely easier. I think we were doing some kind of messing with it in the office, and it was a lot easier to like pull it closed than it was to actually open it, which to me is, I don't know which one I would rather have, to be quite honest. I think that really it was just kind of obnoxious to get into this bag every single time I had to get into it. I started to like dread opening the main compartment, which is a little goofy, but it really was like so tedious to get this thing opened and closed. And you know, even over 3 weeks of use, they never really loosened up. So maybe over time they will, but I think that they were just like, they were so tight, it was kind of obnoxious to get in there. You know, I couldn't really even use these zipper pulls. I had to really like use the metal pull in order to get it open. But regardless, once you get in here, it's nice and easy to kind of navigate everything. Here are some more O-rings, like I mentioned earlier. We also have like this cinch pocket. I use this for like pouches and things like that. So like, let's say this didn't fit on the outside, I would just stick it there. It's not particularly tight, so it's not gonna like really hold everything in there. But for me, it was enough to like I stick my like toiletry bag in there, you know. It was very easy to get in, whatever I had in there. And then this is where I primarily put everything else. So in here, I have a sweatshirt, and then I have 2 packing cubes. I was in this size bag, I was able to get like 2 days worth of gear, or 2 days worth of like clothing and accessories and things, and there was still a little room to spare. So you could definitely get like 3 or 4 days, but this is gonna be more of like a long weekend thing versus like I'm going on a trip for a week or 2 type of a vibe. But they do have these tie-down straps. These are nice to like lock all of your gear in place on this side. You can see it's collecting some hair, which is like pet hair. The straps are removable, so that's nice if you don't want to use them. Kind of, you know, customizable in that way. This material is like, it's kind of like it's like a mesh, but it's squishy in like kind of a rougher way versus like a soft way. But it's nice. I mean, it feels quality. The whole bag feels really well made. You're definitely going to be paying for that quality. You know, it is on the pricier end for a bag of the size. Tom Bin, you know, most of their bags are going to be a little bit more. So you're definitely making an investment here. It does feel like it's built to last. Biggest issue is with, honestly, just with the zippers. I feel like it would drive me crazy if I owned this thing like full time, you know? But this is nice, a little bit of padding there for your laptop, because this is where you can get access to your laptop from the inside of the bag. As you can see, I had to kind of like get past this lip here, and that's, you know, kind of small potatoes in the scheme of things, but it's a lot easier to get a small laptop out of here than like a larger laptop, so that's something else to keep in mind. But I think that like overall the functionality of this bag, like it works really well. It's pretty roomy, nice and comfortable to wear. It's just going to be whether or not this is like the size that works for you, and if like these features all align in a way that makes the most sense for how you travel. So there you have it, the Tom BIHN Synik 26. Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel, and we'll see you in the next one.